crap, let's change the name of the stream. Yes, that is the thing. Add view. Where are my panels? Where's my thing to change the name? Hello? Oh, that's lovely. Oh, okay. We're gonna have to change it. So, Twitch line. Cool. Stream info. Hi, Vuska. How are you going, mate? As you can see, I'm still realizing that I need to update things, so yay! But whatever, we'll have some fun. I still need to put that I'm alive up. Yeah. Anyway, how are you? How's your day been going? Doing well, that's good indeed. Doing the things for pings and such like that. Anywho, what are you up to at the moment, Ruska, since technically it's late for you, isn't it? It's really late for you. $12:40. That's not too bad, but just please make sure you get to bed. Because, of course, be well rested, please. Please be well rested. There we go. Cool. Okay, so I hope that's working. Well, stream avatars should have been working. I might have to verify that later on. But we will load up the game. Have some fun. One second. Go. My goodness. So we're going to load up the silly game. Because why not? I'm loading up Dinkum again because why not? And yeah, there's some fun with that. There we go. My headphones are already reconnected to the right audio output. Yay! But yes, today is just a chill gaming stream. We're not gonna play for too long. Gonna finish like 5:30ish my time. As you can see, I've got a few islands now. We're gonna go into the streaming one. Yeah. And also, as you might be aware, this is actually the first stream with affiliate as well. So you can earn orbs and such like that, which is really fun and so exciting. And I might have wanted to cry. I did want to cry when I got that, actually. Like, I saw the actual notification. Yeah, we've got affiliate, which is crazy. And yeah, I'm currently working on like starting the beginnings of everything. So I got stream avatars up, but it doesn't work fully, sadly. But we're going to get that working slowly. But we haven't played this in a long time. So we're gonna just, you know, pet the buddy, say hi, and then continue with our day. What is, oh, that's Theodore's. I was so confused. I haven't played on this world in a long time. Let's chat. What do you want to chat about? Got a job for me. A blue-spotted flathead hang out in the southern ocean this time of year. Do you think you could catch one? Yes, quite easily. Thank you. Thanks a bunch. Not a problem, Fletch. You are wonderful. Oh, blue. No, that's an eel-tailed catfish. Never mind. Oh, we've got Erwin too. Oh, it's It's Thursday. You have 10 minutes, mate. 10 minutes before I start yelling at you. Okay, we want to chat. What do you want to chat about? Well, do you have a job for me, Erwin? Oh my God, you have a mining license. Think you could help me rustle 2 bags of cement? Do I have the things for a bag of cement? I could try. Yeah, I'll do it. Thank you. Since it's 8:03. Okay, so John, let's talk. I want to chat. What do you want to chat about? Need anything? Well, would you be too much trouble to catch a grass yellow butterfly? I bet you can find one in the plains. Not a problem. We're gonna get some chill things done. Cool. And also, I did not buy a stone cutter, stone grinder, because I already got one. That would have been frustrating if I had done that. Nah. Wires. I have so many wires on my desk currently. Anyway. You just chilling out before you go to conclude your night, Visca? Yeah? A stone. Where's my stone? Where is my are you just chilling out? Are you just chilling out for the evening before you go, like, just like go to bed potentially or whatever like that? Like, just having a chill evening? Yeah? Ooh, fun, fun. Oh, that's interesting. Where is my goodness? Where's my grass yellow butterfly? And where is my wood? Because I had wood and stuff like that. I had like a whole chest of it. Anyway, we'll get some cement. Oh! Nice. Visca, for this is a fossil. They are worth a hecton. But I want to keep that one. It's kind of fun. Hi, Steph. How are you going, mate? I just got a fossil, which is interesting. I've never actually gotten a fossil by mining before. Well, where's my water? Goodness. I have my water. I hope you all have a drink with you. I'll be hydrate for the very first time. And no, these are not counted stuff. I apologize. We're not doing the very, very KC mistake of drowning. So have your waters, get a drink. Yeah. Hydrate. Is your dream of the worst? Well, it's on a cooldown and it can't be counted. So even if you did it 1,000 times, you don't have a competition as much. Oh gosh, I'm gonna die, aren't I? You're actually gonna try to drown me, aren't you? Oh no. Oh no. Do I need to like yell at Ray? Be like, this is gonna be the worst decision of my life apparently. No. Oh gosh. Oh goodness, no. Please don't. Please don't. Oh gosh. Well, anyway. You are gonna have too much fun with that and it worries me. Why is it a 30-minute goal? Because I'm smart and I knew you'd drown me otherwise. I was prepared. Wait, who wanted cement? It was Erwin, yes? Yes, it was Erwin. You're so upset that it's a 30-minute cooldown. I already took my meds. And my meds are later this evening anyway. That was more for if I have a late night stream. But yes, if you have not taken your meds, also take your meds, please, and thank you. I need to go take mine. I'm a couple. Well, that's ironic. Maybe you could do that, buddy. Do that now, please. Why did you just say that? Why? Go take your meds. Go. Go away. Go do that. Okay, we need a fishing rod. Tee. Oh my gosh. Okay. No. Sure. We'll say tee. That is a river bass? I think this is a river bass. Nope, nope, don't do that. Stupid. What if I... You know what? Let us go a bit out. Nope. That's a Barco Grunter. Where are you? Gosh damn it. That's a Barco Grunter. What's the other one that was... Finally! There we go, and we got a jungle perch. Nice. We wanted a... We want a flathead. There we go. You caught a bony tail. Interesting. There you go. New fish. Yeah. Another fish that's new. No! Bloody hell, I thought I just dropped my rod. Let's see. Could we have some ability to be interested? Another jungle perch, nice. Please hold for a second. We go out into the water. Oh, flathead. Come on. Come here. Stop being stubborn. Yeah, thank you. Nope, not gonna happen like that. Come on, I want that one. And let's go. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Oh, oh, come on. And, oh, nope. Blue fish caught. We love to see that. Give me a second, please. Okay, there we go. Alright, what are you up to at the moment, stuff? I know Booska should be going to bed shortly. I got stuck on the... I got a bit stuck. Gosh dang it. Hi Andon, how are you doing, mate? Hello. As you can see, we are currently playing the Aussie game once again because I'm kind of hooked and really like the game. I also will not be able to stream later this evening, tomorrow, depending on where people are in the world, so... Oh, nope, 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 nope. Nope, 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 nope. Goodbye. Oh no. Oh, there's meat. Thanks for the free food. Oh, there's lots of free food. Nope. Come on, try me. Ow. I didn't know they did that! Jump! Never mind. Whoops. Whoops. That was smart. That was definitely smart. Yay! I will also warn, since technically, since affiliate, I'm supposed to be getting ads run to earn money and such like that. I have made it so it is not pre-roll. It is, I will manually set them up every half an hour or so. Like there's 3 minutes of ads. So when that happens, we can all just go away for a minute, like go to the bathroom, get something to eat, whatever like that, and then yeah, continue to have fun here. Also, it seems that we are definitely not going to be giving those fish to anyone instead. Oh, wait. Hello, you are done. Hi, Theodore. Theodore, hello. I've opened the museum on Nuclear Isle. We can fill out the interesting things we found in Nuclear Isle. So please speak to Fletch about building the museum. Building the museum soon. Sir? I think we've already built the museum. I think we've already built the museum. I think you're a bit confused. What can I do for you? I have a donation. Let's actually get this done. Actually, no. Let's go get the other things. Got my hopes up. I'm sorry, mate, but I'm gonna get some other things first. I'll make sure that I get the full donation through. Unusual. Oh, you don't have any eggs because I didn't. There we go. Now we talk to... Do you have a mashed up accent? It kind of sounds like you're saying somewhat... I watch too much American TV and shush. So yes, I do have a bit of a mashed up accent where I do have some US speech. I don't... And it's gotten to the point where I have been asked by Aussies, oh, are you American or Canadian? And I'm like, I'm Aussie. Are you sure? And I don't know how to feel about that. But yeah, I've been questioned. Okay, that's all the donations we have. Do you want anything? I want to chat. I want to see if he wants anything. Do you need anything? Belly is grumbling. Could I ask you to find me something to eat? I really owe you one. I'll do it. Easy. display case. Show off something you can't put in your pocket. Yes. Reason I'm getting this? You sure? Nah, I'm not sure. I've only been living in Australia since I was born. Okay, so because also I'm just gonna warn, I just had the thing saying incoming ad break. That will obviously be for you too. But yeah, I have had that. It's fun. It's always fun. That's one I'm still kind of on the. But yeah, that's something. Wait, yes. Where's that trinket? The trinket's inside. Request? Oh, yes. There we go! Container. It's contained. So that. 1 second. There we go. Okay. Well, okay, so what do I need right now? I need to talk to John because for Friday. Oh, feet. Feet. I walked. What chat? What do you want to chat about? Got a job for me. Ah. Are you interested in buying 4 corn? I'll give you a good deal. Do we want to buy 4 corn for 847 bucks? Oh, never mind, I just bought it. Did I just get scammed? Anyway. I think I got scammed, but anyway. We're gonna continue from that. Any hoozle. Also, Andon, I'm just gonna add to this the like, are you sure bit? I have been asked by people before, like they'll say, "Oh, I saw your sister at this plot," and I respond, "1 second, please. Just gonna." Sorry for the interruption, folks. Let us continue. So, we also have ads in a minute, which is always fun. Less than a minute. But I will pause the game when that happens. It means we don't miss anything. Neither you or I. But yeah. In a second, I'll probably just run the ads because it's a tiny bit easier for all of us. And then don't have to worry about being cut off. Oh, gosh. But yes. I will run those ads in a second because then we don't have to worry about them for a good hour. I will pause the game and run those ads now. So I will see you all in a minute. See ya. Wait, I don't know if they've started, but I think the ads have started. I don't know if the ads are starting. That's good. There we go. Okay, we should be back. You should be able to see me right now, which I'm really hoping is true because I don't see the ads. If you can hear me, please let me know quickly before I continue just yapping and then discovering you can't actually hear me. I'm really hoping you can hear me now. But the ad should have ended. Anyway. What? Andon. Oh, goodness. Andon. Anyway. Oh my gosh. I'm just gonna say, Yamimo, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right when I say that. But thank you so much for the raid because you are actually my very first raider. I've never had a raid before. This is my first raid ever. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. How was your stream? Lovely. How was your stream? What were you playing? And did everyone have fun while they were over with you? Yeah. So how was your stream? Please, I would like to hear all of it without dropping my pickaxe while I'm doing it. Anyway, how was your stream? Please. I would love to hear it. And oh my gosh, thank you so much for the raid, because that's really exciting. But yeah. Oh my gosh, I did! Yay! I pronounced it right. So yeah, Mimo, I hope you had a lovely stream. Thank you so much for the raid, because this is my first raid. It's my first day with affiliate. It is insane. That's crazy. So thank you so much. You're playing Dinkum too. Ooh, well, we love that. I think I probably definitely rated you because of Dinkum then, most likely. But yes, we are currently playing Dinkum on my streaming world because I do have multiple. Oh, we love that. We love a good charity stream. I absolutely love that. Like, I with which stream are you? Which charity are you looking at? Are you donating for at the moment? 'Cause I'd love to hear it, and also like obviously spread the good word because charity is a wonderful thing to be checking out and to make sure that we all participating. Yes, I got affiliate yesterday. Okay, job into. Ooh. Well, Mrs. Doe Eyes, thank you so much for sticking along for the raid. I do appreciate it because that's honestly really sweet, and that's honestly made my day because I didn't expect to get a raid on my first day with affiliate. So thank you so much for tuning in for anyone who might be going to bed or whatnot like that. And thank you so much, Yamimo, again for the raid because that actually means the world to me. That means the absolute world to me. Thank you so much. And ooh, yes, Project Hope. That sounds like a beautiful thing. I need. But yes, welcome so much. Thank you so much for the raid because that is actually incredible. Yeah, I'm kind of a bit lost for words there. I am a tiny bit lost for words because that's insane to me. But yes, thank you so much for the raid, and I hope, and I'm so, I'll definitely be checking that out myself, and I hope everyone here checks it out for looking at donating. And thank you so much, Mrs. Doai. I hope you have a lovely evening and sleep well. Good night, and yeah. Well, yeah. I'm a bit lost for words just then. I'm a tiny bit lost for words. Anyway, we are currently playing Dinkum. As you can tell, you've all just come in from a lovely, wonderful person, and I'm so excited to continue with entertaining you today. We are just going to be, we're going to be playing some more Dinkum. We're doing a little chill stream today, and thank you so much, Yamimo, and yeah. That just took me off guard by a long mile. Oh, but yes, thank you so much, guys, for coming over and hanging out with us today. Yeah. We'll just be chilling out for a little bit and playing some Dinkum and having some fun together. And hopefully not getting ads when the next raid comes in. Because of course, the very first raid this channel ever gets happens as I run the ad break. As I run the ad break, we get the ads. That's a lovely first impression. I'm so sorry. Oh goodness gracious me. Oh, I'm actually really giddy right now. Really giddy. Oh my gosh. Oh. Oh, y'all making a damn competition. Okay, for those who don't know, I've just... Okay, everybody please make sure you grab your water or your drinks, whatever is nearby you, and make sure you have a quick drink. I just got bits. I just got the orbs, and that's one of the first things I did, and apparently stuff is gonna abuse the heck out of it, because it's funny. And try not to spill water on yourself like I just did, because that's definitely delightful. Ah. I also do apologize if you hear my fan in the background for anyone listening, because it might be in the middle of a heat wave. Oh, yes, please do not stay if you need to get ready for bed, but yeah, absolutely. Yes, I did put a 30-sec. I did put a 30-minute cooldown because I don't want to drown stuff. Mr. Stuff 456. Do I need to go? Let me just pause for a second. Yamimo. Do I need to address you, Mr. Stuff? Do I need to address you? Mr. Stuff 456, I apologize that I put a 30-minute timer on the good discussion on the hydrate timer because I wanted to make sure I didn't drown. I apologize for that inconvenience, Mr. Stuff 456. Yeah, if you start the chicken when I'm right here. Well, I have to address something. I'm addressing the void or I'm addressing Chicken You. Currently, I can address Chicken You. And give Chicken You a pet. Because it's silly. Yes, Yamimo is something I've been doing because it's silly and I couldn't think of a name of the chickens. Awesome, awesome. We love a good hydrate. But something we've been doing, I couldn't think of a way to have fun with this, so I might have, I might be naming my chickens after my followers because it's silly. And yes, that can count stuff. That can count. Just take a hydration of whatever drink is with you, whether that be a diet drink, a fizzy drink, a coffee, tea, Milo, or all sorts of drinks because, oh, yeah, hydration. We're hydrating. It's good. But yes, that is perfectly fine. Not tea. Tea is unacceptable. Well, yes, you're not British. I'm not expecting you to like tea. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. You can still like what we like. Starting to grow. I'll tell you what, it's been a day to build a bandstand. No, we're not having any musical guests anytime soon. If SCR had a bandstand, we could use it as a place to host events. We could host parties, gatherings, celebrations. It would be a place where everyone on SCR No Clue Isle could gather and just hang out. I hate it. Well, that's lovely. We do love vanilla Coke. We do love it. I already applied for the bandstand, so come and speak to me if you're ready to build it. Oh goodness, we have to get a bandstand now. What can I do for you? Let's see if we can talk about the town. Let's see, what exactly do you want help with? Can I see the deeds? Right, should rush. Yeah, go do that, please. What's going on the unacceptable list? Oh, vanilla Coke's going on your unacceptable list stuff. I'm sorry, buddy. Apparently you don't want vanilla Coke. Vanilla Coke's not that bad. It's not the best, but it's not that bad. Anyway. Yeah, right. Yeah, you've already said that. Yeah. We're 124k in debt. That's a lot of money. No, thank you. Not right now. Anyway. Fletch is the best. Fletch is lovely. We love Fletch. But, I'm currently in debt, so I can't do a lot currently. Sadly. Well, thank you so much, and have a lovely rest of your evening, and good night. Bye-bye. But thank you, and thank you again so much for the raid, Yamimo. You absolutely rock, and that was insane. Thank you. I'm still a bit giddy from that. I'm still a bit giddy. Because that's something. That's definitely something. Anyway, we are currently... What are we doing? I've lost my train of thought. Bring something to eat to Theodore. Theodore wants something to eat. Ah! My character is sleepy. Little sleepy guy. Little eepy guy. Come on. Oh, don't get rid of that. We're going to give Theodore a lovely fruit salad, because why not? Fruit salad is yummy after all. And yes, I am referencing the Wiggles, because I am Aussie, if you do not know that. Yeah, I hope you're all having a lovely rest of your morning, evening, or afternoon. Currently, it is very hot over where I am in the world of Australia, but yes, a lovely day right here. Very nice to be hanging with all of you. Okay, Theodore, my character is sleepy. It's currently 32 degrees Celsius stuff. What is the temperature? 32 degrees Celsius. Also I'm going to talk to Theodore and say I have donation. It's 32 degrees Celsius with 32 degrees Celsius, or for those who use Fahrenheit, it is 90 degrees Fahrenheit. It feels like 97 because we have 46% humidity. So it is 32 but feels like 36. And stuff, can I please steal that temperature? Please, I beg of thee. I want that temp. I want it to be cool. Oh gosh. Temperature. Hot here. Yes, I am willing to donate, Theodore. Thank you. Not a problem, and I would happily accept 100 credits. Not a problem. Oh, wait, food. I'm coming here to give you food. I didn't come here to give you that. Wanna chat? Okay, here you go. You brought me something to eat? Yes, I did. I brought you a lovely, yummy fruit salad. Thank you, Minerva. I would shake your hand and thanks, but that might be inappropriate. I have so many questions about Theodore. I have so many questions. Like, he's very sweet. I mean, I have questions about why he doesn't even think shaking hands is appropriate. But, okay. What are we currently doing? Attract to 5 permanent residents. We have that currently going on there. We need to prepare other things. Put this in the grinder. Set a boundaries. I am respecting his boundaries. I am. It's just interesting. Okay. I am respecting his boundary stuff. I am respecting his boundaries. He is one of the only characters who ever states that kind of boundary, so it's interesting to me. But it does make the characters have their own uniqueness in the way they, well, say thank you and everything along that line. Okay, so, okay, cool, and what the heck? Okay, so I found where the rest of my things were. Okie dokie. You and... No, I don't want the fences. I want this one. I also have cement. Okay, so... trying to think right now. Yeah, we are currently just chilling and chatting and having a good time. And apparently I'm getting... goodness. I'm still a bit flabbergasted at that. Sorry. Okay, there's a copper bar. And there's a titanium bar. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh! We don't like you. Nope. Goodbye. No! Gosh, damn it! Go away. I don't like you. You already knocked me into a coma yesterday. Can you leave me alone? Go away. I need my things. I'm just in the middle of doing things. Go away. Please. Thank you. Don't come back. Keep your distance, and I'll keep mine. I'm gonna go this way, thank you. Goodbye. I don't like that guy. The crocodile is a bit mean. The croco is a bit mean. Okay. Because we do not have anything to do from them, I'm going to go do a little bit of mining to see if we can get some good resources behind us before we, well, while we do that. No. Yeah, we're just having some fun, I hope. I do. I'm still giddy. I don't know how to respond to that. What I'm still giddy. Oh gosh. That was definitely not on my bingo card for today's stream. Ooh, hello. I don't recognize you. You. Swallowtail butterfly. Do we have you? Bugs and critters. We do not. We're going to leave you for Theodore because he will love us for that. He will like it. We'll get more credit points. We'll get more permit points. Is it permit points? Yes, permit points. Yes. We'll get more points. We'll get some little insects and some silly things like that. That's a blue moon butterfly over there. Very pretty. Pretty indeed. Aha, fruit. What is over here that has the X? Why did I put an X here? What? Oh. I'm very curious as to why I put that X there. Because I would appreciate if I don't drop that, thank you. I don't remember ever putting that down in the map anyway. So I'm just gonna leave that there and be confused next stream too, which is always fun. I need to play this Dinkum world a bit more often because I've been playing it so inconsistently. Like, obviously we only stream 3 times a week, which is always fun. But with that, I don't have regular memory of it. For those who stick around and would love to keep tuning in, I do enjoy playing Peak on Wednesday because we will, well, the little silly gag of we have pink peaking Wednesdays. So I will most likely be playing Peak on this Wednesday, either in the morning or afternoon. I want to try to get some more morning streams in because it's a better time, but then also difficult with if life gets busy during the day. Evenings are definitely convenient for that. But yes, we'll be looking at playing Peak on Wednesday. So if you would like to tune in for that, then I'll be forever grateful because that is always fun to have some new people chilling and chatting and having a good time here with me because, yeah. And that absolutely means the world for me. It means the world because this is something really silly and really a goofy little idea that I started because a friend was streaming and now there's a potential to actually earn money and start potentially doing something with that, which is very exciting and overwhelming to realize. Also, I'm going to state, I realized something a second ago. I don't know if this happened during this stream, but I noticed that I noticed a following happened and I didn't hear the raid notification. I'm worried that if people follow that I'm not getting the notifications for some reason. I was trying to set up some new things for the stream. As you can see, I tried setting up stream avatars, but it didn't work properly, which is frustrating for me. But with that, I think it might have glitched out my notifications, which worries me a bit. Worries me quite a bit there. So I will definitely have to be looking into that and making sure everything is running as smoothly as possible, because we don't want that to be happening, and I don't want to be missing out on thanking and welcoming anyone who decides to stick around for the good times with me and this little community we have right now. Yeah, I'll definitely have to look into that one later to make sure. I hope everyone else is well though, because we are going to, well, I hope you all are having a lovely afternoon or evening or afternoon. Wait, look. I'm stuttering on my own words by saying afternoon twice. I'm so sorry. But yes, we are having a lovely little time this afternoon. But afternoon for me, and just having some fun. Yeah. Okay. We need to go back to base, because our base camp area, because it is later, and well, my little character's gonna get sleepier and sleepier by the minute. I'm gonna also collect flowers because they're kind of sweet. And I got the banana skull. Where's home? Home is very far south. Goodness. They're gonna be traveling for a second. Yay! Oh. While I'm here, I might as well just bonk this and break it. Ooh! Well, I like it when Franklin comes over, because he'll get another shiny disc. Yeah. I'm so in awe by that, because that wasn't expected. I didn't even know how to process that. I don't think I have. Ooh! Now we've got a little buggy, because why not? And yeah. Oop. Okay, so we're getting ready for Theodore in the morning, because there's definitely something we need to do. I have a few new critters for the museum. I think the bogong butterfly is not in his museum, so we will check that quickly. Bogong moss. Goodness. Yeah, so that is not in the museum. The painted lady butterfly, I am pretty sure is not there either. So why not? And Hoozle, we are going to quickly sleep so we get that lovely little bit of rest our character needs, because otherwise she is going to be exhausted in the morning. Yes. Oh, someone is visiting the island. We have someone new. Someone new. Who is it today? Hi, Mr. Stuff. Good morning. Oh. That is something very silly. I wanted to get some more chickens I was gonna aim to get some more chickens. Love you, mate. You're awesome. Ooh. Hello. Hello there. I am Milvin. Like making furniture and that stuff. So if you like buying that sort of thing, come and talk to me. Hello, sir. I want to chat. What do you want to chat about? Do you need anything, sir? I think cicada hang out in the plains this time of year. Do you think you could catch a cicada and bring it to me? Yes, I could. Thanks a bunch. Ooh. I'm getting this furniture because it's really cute. A nice, very nice piece. That will be 5,000. You run a steep price, sir. I'm really hoping this is functional. Maybe. I don't know. She's a beaut, right? That will be 7. That is cheap. That's a nice deal. Thank you, sir. I will go get you that cicada now. We got a Wombi bank. Look at that. It's cute. Oh, that's so sweet. We'll put it over here because it's a little silly. It's not functional. Dang it. Well, that's delightful. And put let's got here. Oh, in here. Let's go. And then we're going to. Nope, you staying with me. Boop, boop, boop. Nope, we're not moving in there. Then we go over here, put some more fruit over here. We don't have anything over here, but we do have, over here, we have some of these little trinkets. We do have fruit, actually. We have these little words. We have the yellow wattle flower. What is... We need to definitely organize this a tiny bit. I need to fix this up quite a bit. Because, like, I definitely am finding that this is going to be long-term needing some improvements in the design of where everything goes. Yeah, itchy nose. An itchy nose. Goodness. Yeah. I'm so speechless right now. I don't know how to... Oh! We're just witnessing something we didn't... Okay then. The door is being a bit silly. Oh, the door is picking a few fights there. Okay, so where are we? Are we in the plains right here? This looks like... No, this is not the map. This is bushland. We have plains. Is it only... It's only north. Okay. Have to go north for that cicada. For Melbourne. Hello, you silly little kangaroo. Okie dokie. Let's go through here, up onto the little ridge. I thought the dramatic music for being chased was starting up and I got a bit worried for a second. Just wondering where that came from. There we are. Over here. Okay. Not bad. There's a birdie. This a harlequin? Harlequin butterfly. Have we got harlequin in there? Yes, we do. Harlequin is definitely nice and secured. There. Oh, we've got a cricket. Nope. Come here. Over here. Come. Please? Please? No, 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 no. Yeah, there we go. Aha! We got it. We got it. Okie dokie. Oh no. There's a few puppos doing the silly things. Over there. Where on earth is the cicada? It was definitely saying it was in the plains, I'm hoping. Yeah, the cicadas are in the cicadas stick in the plains. Like they're most common there. So in theory they should be nearby one. This is, oh. Yeah. I went in a loop. How big is this plane? The plane isn't big. So we'll go north. There we go. I like collecting shells. Seashells by the seashore. Because why not? And also they sell for a good little profit when we get them. If we sell them all at once to John, then we get a good little profit. Which helps. It's going to help pay off our debts. We've got a few of them. We're going to have a few more soon. Because eventually we will have to, well, of course, make more houses and establish STR No Clue Isle. I probably just need to change the name to No Clue Isle because why not? Ah. Ooh. There's a few of you. Hi. Hello there. It's Sharky. I poked it. Wait. Whew. Here we go. Did I get shark tooth on? No, I didn't get shark teeth. Ooh, there's a coral reef over here. Oh my gosh, stuff, you're actually going to be committing to that a lot, aren't you? Okay, for those of you who can see me and hear me, no, who can hear us, please make sure you get your water or coffee or whatever drink that is sitting by you and hydrate. I just hydrated myself. And yeah, we'll just make sure that we get nice and hydrated so we are nice and well. It's not a challenge, but you're gonna make it a challenge. No. Okay. Little gremlins. Little gremlins. I just thought of a really silly thing, which is really stupid, and it's on the whim. What if you were my goblins? Just my little gremlins, my little goblins. My goblins being gremlins. I don't even know. That's just a thought that just arose in my mind, and I don't even know how to think about that. Yeah. Over there. I want to catch that fish. I saw some new fishies. Wait. There's a fishy. It's a new fish I don't recognize. Oh. Nope. Let's go. Nope. There we go. Now we go. Nope. Go. And we get that. We get the little. Come on. Can we get the little guy? You're going to a good home. Theodore will love you. You will be. Gosh dang it. Theodore will love you. You will be loved immensely. Yes. Come on. Theodore wants to take you home. Please. I beg. Please. No. Little guy. Yes? Yeah. Come on. Yes. Stop. The fishing mechanic in this game is definitely something to get used to. Goodness. There we go. We caught the fishy. Theodore's gonna be so happy to get a new little friend. Gonna quickly. Oh my gosh! Thank you so much for the bits, Prof. Oh my goodness. What the heck? So today I've had my first raid set from Yami Mo, and then my first time getting bits, which is so insane. What did I do? What? Now I'm going backwards and wondering what the heck's going on. But oh my gosh, thank you so much, Prof, for the bits. That is sad. Oh my gosh, thank you. You're fine, Callie. Callie, I'm assuming. Callie, you're absolutely fine. That is absolutely fine. Please don't worry. Just all of a sudden, so many things going on because we got a little bit of activity there, and a few people said hi. But yeah, you're absolutely fine. And thank you so much for sticking along after the raid, because you have no idea how much that means to me. Like, that is something I didn't expect today at all. And I don't know how to react to that, Prof. Thank you so much, Prof. Oh my gosh. I was already speechless from the raid. Still. I was still speechless from that raid. And I don't even know where to begin for that. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Oh my. Goodness gracious me. There we go. And we're gonna quickly run. Oh my goodness. So, Prof, you are officially the very first person to ever give me bits somehow. And thank you so much, Callie, for the follow. That is much appreciated. Thank you so much. And I hope you stick around to the journey because... Ah! This is insane. Always good to meet some more Aussie streamers. Oh, are you Aussie too, Callie? Are you from the wonderful world of Down Under too? Because, yay. More pearls? Always good to meet another fellow Aussie. You're from SA. You are from South Australia. Lovely. I haven't been to SA myself. I'm in Western Australia. So I'm on the West Coast. And, yeah, I haven't been to SA, but I'd love to visit because it looks like a beautiful... You look like you have some beautiful cities over there. Yeah. And also I'm wondering, is it cooler over there? Please, can I steal your weather for like a week? We're currently experiencing the middle of a heat wave, which is, of course, very, very classic Australia, but also pain. What is over here? We're nearly as empty as you, it'd be homely, I imagine. Give each other some company, I'd say. It'd be fun. Also be a little chaos gremlins, maybe. Because, why not? Oh, and there we go with some more pearls. There we go. And over here, we mark them out because then money. Ooh, there's another one. I really don't know how to react to today's stream. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to stream later this evening because sometimes I stream in the evening, sometimes in the mornings. Depends on my days. And so I knew I wasn't streaming later. So I decided I wanted to stream a bit earlier. How long have I been streaming in general? Is it insane if I say less than a month? I've been streaming less than a month. I think I started streaming... Yes, that is a little interesting snippet. Let me actually find this. Oh, I put an announcement. Quite a few people here. So, for example, Mr. Stuff, and you're affiliate, and 17 people here at the moment. Like, crazily, yes, Callie. Crazily, yes. I don't know. But when I first started playing, like, streaming, I started streaming on the 6th, literally 1 month ago. It's just under a month. Just under a month ago, I started streaming. I streamed Peak with a friend. I'd been wanting to stream for absolute years, and I hadn't started yet. And because my friend was streaming, I said, let's do it. So I set up a very, very, very simplistic, very, very, like, plain Twitch thing. I got a recording from Peak, which is my background, and I'm sorry if you can hear my dog barking outside. I don't know why she's barking, but okay. But with the fact that I had that friend who was streaming at the same time, and I just decided if I was going to commit to trying Twitch out, I was going to really commit. And I have a little bit of a community behind me, some friends. So Mrs. Stuff and Prof are actually some really good friends of mine, and we hang out quite a bit on a Minecraft server together called Wildcard. So like, if you want a lovely little Minecraft server, I can send you the link to that. I'm staff over in there, which is so fun, and we love it so much. But yes, because I had that little tiny boost from friends, another friend of mine who's in my recommended channels list, Ray KC, jokingly suggested that we're going to speed run getting Minnie to affiliate. And here we are less than a month later, just hitting a month mark, which is insane. Oh my goodness. So I've been trying to stream regularly, which definitely does help. I've been doing a few raids, which as well, like, brings like some people into awareness of you and also gives the love to other people. Since we love to spread the love here, I would love to be able to ensure that no matter what happens, if this becomes a job for me, or if this becomes like a job, or if this just becomes a side hustle and a little hobby, then I can make sure that with streaming, I want to always be able to raid the little smaller guys, because then who's in here that you should also follow? Okay, so moving on. Who's in here that you should also follow? Well, I've got the recommended channel list. If you look in there, there is a lot of friends who are so wonderful, so amazing. A few of them have affiliate, a few of them don't yet. I suggested to, if you see Just the Wanderer, I've been jokingly saying to him that we're going to speedrun getting him to affiliate next, and he does not agree with me. So if you want to give him a cheeky follow, it'd be very fun. He is a wonderful person and a beautiful human being and a good friend. And he is actually the person I did my very first stream with. But yeah, if you want to go give him or other people a follow, I definitely recommend him. I recommend there's Rose.png, a wonderful, lovely friend of mine. She is one of my close friends. Ray KC. Lus. Why? It is raining. It is very pouring right now. It's very cold. But yes, any of those people you see in my channel description that are recommended, they're either friends of mine or people I think you should, I definitely recommend if you want to find some lovely, friendly people and they're beautiful communities, go raid them, go show them some love, because yeah, they are so, so lovely people. They're such lovely people. And I need to update that to add more people and more friends in, people who like raid here, because 100%, like that is such a huge thing, and I'm so grateful for that. But yeah, if you want to raid, if you want to just go give someone some love, I would definitely recommend those people to start off with. I want to try to get this squid. I'm trying to get this squid. Okay, we're definitely got to follow the Wanderer to continue the affiliate boost. Yes, he's going to kill me later on. He's going to kill me later on. It'd be really funny if we could get him to affiliate too, because when I told him that I got an affiliate, he was so happy for me, and I jokingly suggested getting him to it, and he said, no, I'm not. No, we're not getting him to affiliate, and I'm just going, okay, challenge accepted. Challenge accepted, mate. So yeah, if you give him a follow, thank you so much. And yeah, I hope you love him as much as we love him, because he's also amazing. It is okay. So the follower count for, I don't understand this completely. It's very interesting. Twitch has 4 recommended to get the requirement of, I'm trying to find this squid while I'm talking to you, but to get affiliate, it's a bit different to getting VIP and partner. Partner, you have to have an average of 65 viewers for 4 streams, and I think an average of 65 followers. It used to be 12 unique days, 3 concurrent, 50 followers. Interesting, because when I looked, it is currently, you have to stream on 4 consecutive days for 4 hours. Don't worry, I know this stuff back to front. Damn. But currently it's 4 consecutive days, 4 hours at least in a month. Like, 4 streams, 4 consecutive days, like different days in a month, 4 hours, and 25 followers. So, no, average of 4 viewers. Average of 3 viewers in 4 different days was definitely one of them. And that was the one I did struggle with a bit, because I never ping people, usually. I don't want to be a little bother and be like, oh, come and watch me stream. Hi. I don't like that as much. So I didn't want to ping people, and I just wanted to make it like, if you want to come and tune in, come tune in. And people have been, and that's really fun. But yeah, yeah, the streaming thing has definitely, I think they might have updated that. I don't know when they would have updated that though. But yes, that is what I had to get affiliate. Yes. I wouldn't have done it without the amazing people behind me, the friends I have, and yeah. Also, I've just noticed the second ad break. Goodness. Let's hope another raid doesn't happen during that ad break, because that would be really ironically funny, the timing of that. Oh gosh. I will also mention I am going to aim to finish this stream in about 20 minutes maybe? I could just miss the ads, honestly. I just realized that. Or snooze them for a bit. I don't know. But yeah, we will run those anyway in 5, and I will be finishing in about 20. Yeah, there's an ad break. So when we do the ad break, it's 3 minutes of ads, because we can get them all out of the way in the right then. So that means it's not as annoying. You can just walk away from your computer for a second, stretch your legs, grab a drink, go to the bathroom, whatever you need to do, and then we can come back and play some more games. But yeah, I'm going to take a second for myself too, just to stand up and walk around and then grab a snack. Prof, I love you, but I want to come and slap you. What the heck? Thank you so much for subscribing. Currently, there is literally nothing to benefit you from subscribing, so what the heck. I do hope to get some like little perks like to subscribers. I'm aiming to get emotes soon and like some fun little things, but thank you so much, Prof, for subscribing. That actually means the world to me. And what the heck? I'm trying to get the little... What the heck, Prof? Prof, nein, Marklug. Professorin, nein, Marklug. I want some Aussie emotes in the future. Well, there is the founder... Yes, there is the founder badge. That is true. So, yes, now Prof has a founder's badge and the moderator badge. What? Oh my god! What the heck? Okay, you're gonna make me cry. What the heck? Thank you so much, Callie, for subscribing. You're officially an OG. Yes, definitely. Oh my gosh. That is insane. I don't even know how to describe that. Whoa. But thank you so much. That absolutely means the world to me. You have no idea. I'm about to cry. I'm actually about to cry. But thank you so much, Prof and Callie, for subscribing. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so we've achieved a few special things today. In the thing that I thought was going to be a very short, little brief, fun little stream of... We've gotten our first raid, 2 ad breaks. The next one's in a minute, so I'm so sorry about that. But honestly, I'm going to skip that. I don't give a it adds a skip for 5 minutes, so we'll get another 5 minutes piece. But, ooh. But, oh my goodness, that was not expected at all. I didn't expect to just get people wanting to, well, essentially give me their money. Which is insane to say. Just like, give me your money. Give me your money. But thank you so much, Prof and Callie. That means the absolute world. Yes, I do want to get emotes very soon. I'm going to be... The person who did my profile picture, the wonderful Loon on Twitter, they are a friend... Well, I'm so sorry. If you haven't got emotes yet, you will get emotes. There will be emotes. There will be fun things to actually say thank you so much and benefit from for you, because I would love to get emotes and love all of those good things. I honestly cannot believe that. Oh. Trying to catch a stingray, because why not? Nope, that's not gonna happen. But yes, we are about to start our outbreak. I'm so sorry. But what? Okay, never mind. No, we're not getting ads. We have another 4 minutes until ads. What the heck? Oh my gosh. But I didn't expect that today. I did not expect to have so many little milestones happen today, because that is bonkers to me. It's honestly very much something I did not expect. I did not expect to have that happen. And you have no idea how much that meant to me. How much this means to me. Because it is a goal, like my main goal on this like kind of streaming journey, and eventually I want to try to make some videos and such like that. Like maybe, like I upload my VODs, but oh my gosh, this stingray is stubborn. But I do eventually, like, my main goal with this kind of, like, with this pathway of potential work,